you sell off a certain number of shares. So you sell off, let's just say you get all 10,000. You raise $5 million. Mm-hmm. You now take that $5 million and you start buying what with it?
We start doing smart deals. We diversify a real estate portfolio that will be mixed up of, one, we can use debt as long as with that equity. So that $5 million leveraged with debt is about $15 million. You talk about a real capital stack, not to mention TAD funding and tax credits and other things that we can do from an acquisition standpoint. We are currently a signature away from a historical property in Atlanta, Georgia on Sweet Auburn. It's actually the old YMCA, Butler Street YMCA, where Dr. Martin Luther King and Ralph David Abernathy and other leaders started the civil rights movement. We're going to be redeveloping that property and turning it into a blues lounge and some other floors that are going to have some social kind of impactful companies. So that's one development project. It's over 80,000 square feet of real estate we're going to be developing in downtown Atlanta. It's going to come with a parking garage as well. So for those who ever parked in a parking deck and wish you could own one day, here's your opportunity. We're looking also at agriculture and farmland. We're looking at a 100-acre cannabis farm out in Cali. We are looking at some warehousing for cryptocurrency mining. We have blocks of houses in Newark, New Jersey, Baltimore, Maryland, Detroit, and Chicago that we're looking at, working with local city mayors and councilmen and women. So we have a plethora of inventory and real estate deals. We also are very versed within our organization in tax lien certificates and tax lien sales. And so we have some of our investments will be more aggressive and more innovative, but to balance that out, as you know, good diversification, we'll have some investments that'll be your 20% ROI investments at tax liens, hoping that we score on some properties. Apartment complexes are another big thing that I'm into, owning multifamily units, apartment complexes, student housing. So we'll take part in all these type of investments, just using good fiduciary responsibility to make good investments.
Okay, so you're going to go out and buy different types of properties with the money that's raised.
I missed one. So one of our key focuses, historical focuses, is we are town shopping. We just left a town in Atlanta, 2 hours outside of Atlanta, Georgia, a whole town that's for sale, or 60% of the town that's for sale. We're negotiating with those owners, and we're looking for other towns and areas throughout the country where we can actually build true Black Wall Street districts and models. Are you familiar with Black Wall Street?
I am.
The community in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yeah, I mean, it got burned down at the end, right?
Yeah, so June 1st of 1921, it was bombed and massacred. That's why we're launching on June 1st of 2018 to revitalize it and to use this vehicle as a way to actually realize that as Africans and Americans, Black people, to see what it's like when we have our own little Italy and our own Greek towns and our own, little Mexico's little Koreatown. So we literally are going to utilize this fund. That's why it's called Tulsa. I didn't name it after me, as most of my companies are. I named it after Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Black Wall Street community, because it's symbolic of what we can do together when we pull our dollars together. So we will build a Black Wall Street with this fund. That is a fact, God willing.
Okay. So you're going to take the money that's raised, and you're going to buy various types of properties.
Correct.
And then from there, it's going to bring in rental income. Certain ones might be sold if you could sell them for a nice profit.
Correct.
Which could be in turn used to buy something else, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you turn this into a running business based on what you raise with the IPO.
Yes, as well. I mean, it's already a running business, and it will continue to thrive as a business based on the IPO and the raise. We'll lend money. My goal. I don't want to be the developer, the investor. My goal is to be the plug. My goal is to be the vehicle, the platform for us. So if you are a developer or investor in a local city and you have a great deal, a great project, but you can't go to the bank and get $3 million, can't get $1.5 million, but you got a sound project where you have inherited land from your family, you want to figure out how to develop it, you need capital. I want to be in a position as the fund manager to be able to creatively lend capital as a private equity partner to developers and other asset owners throughout the country. I'm not looking to run around and be Mr. I'm not looking to get the most units, right? So I'm looking to be a good fiduciary and steward of the fund and make sure we're parking capital in the right places, partnering with the right people, and making sure everyone's protected.
Okay, now you said that by investing in this fund, you'll get 8% back a year.
8% preferred return, correct.
Okay, but that's not guaranteed.
No investment's guaranteed. We have to say that. This is not
Okay.
a guaranteed investment, just as the stock
Right.
market isn't a guaranteed investment.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, because an 8% dividend is outstanding, but you're going to be hard pressed to find anyone that'll bring you 8% a year consistently, year after year after year. A few of those places do exist, but they haven't consistently kept that type of rate. It's a very high rate.
That's my challenge, and that's what we want to live up to. We want to be one of the few economic vehicles and funds and firms that can produce those kind of investments. I believe with real estate, as we talked about last time, I believe with real estate, leverage right, that we can certainly meet those 8% marks. I believe so.
Now, with this fund, when you invest in it, you technically own a piece of the real estate that's purchased.
Correct.
Within that fund, but you don't actually have the tax advantages of owning actual real estate.
Yeah, there's not going to be the pass through, the same type of like cost segregation and other pass through that you would get from traditionally just owning it. So that is one component of it, correct?
Right, and essentially it's like a REIT. It's kind of a you're technically selling stocks at this point, right?
It's shares. Yep, it's shares of a company,
shares.
and the company owns assets, and you own a piece of those assets.
Exactly. Now, if you decide to sell, because if you buy a REIT and you say, okay, an hour later you change your mind, you could put it back on the market and sell it instantly. If it's on a major exchange like the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. But when you buy a share of Tulsa, if you buy 10 shares of Tulsa and you want to sell 5 of them, or you want to sell all of them, how quickly can you do that?
It's going to be a process. If you want to try to sell Tulsa shares, you can do it amongst your network to family or friends or to others. That's probably the easiest way to do it. We have a 1-year lockup on the fund, and then we pay dividends after the 1 year, quarterly. But if there is hardship or a need to sell shares, we do have it depends on the fund's liquidity, right? We can't sell capital that's not there. If we just bought a hotel and you're like, hey, I need 10,000 back real quick, and we just parked it in an asset, there's going to be a process for liquidity and getting that money back, and there's certain regulations we have to follow. So we do encourage people to look at this as a long-term investment, not a get-rich-quick. This is not a flip. This is, I had money sitting in the shoebox for a minute. I have money sitting in a savings account for a minute, or I got some extra funds. I have no retirement account. I have no long-term legacy plan set up for my family. Let me park some dollars in Tulsa and let it see what it do. It's that type of investment. Something that you can invest what you can afford to lose, we say. Not that we plan on losing anything, but as a good steward and fiduciary and responsible fund manager, we have to disclose that and say that to our audience. But again, my name's on this, my face is on this, so I got to do the best, to keep my name good in these streets. But we will do our best by our crowd investors and our partners. But yeah, if you want to liquidate, there is a year lockup, for that process.
Okay, and then you have to figure out how to sell it if you could find a buyer for it, essentially after that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I mean, I have an overall idea of what you're doing here. I think conceptually, it's an interesting idea, and I think of sort of using the angle of having this be an African American thing, in terms of Black Wall Street and so forth. I think is dope.
Thank you.
There's also the options of buying REITs, which allow you to do something similar, although not in the African community space, but allow, when you buy a REIT, you essentially buy into a company that's buying and selling and renting out commercial and private property and bringing in rental income and so forth. And it brings in a lot of times the dividends on those are higher than a typical company.
Yeah, they may be. REITs can be successful if the managers know what they're doing.
I mean, I've seen REITs like 6%, 8%, sometimes even more on certain years, and then they drop and so forth. And a lot of them have been around for decades and decades, and they're on major exchanges, and it allows you to buy and sell. But, if they're not focused on the African American community and so forth. So, in terms of what you put together and the following that you have, I think is an interesting idea.
Yeah,
and I hope it works out.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the blessings. Yeah, and the focus for us is, there's, like I said, we all got opportunity costs of where we want to invest and why we want to invest. For us, where we compete with the REITs is outside of just your dividends, we're also splitting profits 50-50. So outside of your 8% preferred, we slam it home with We got relationships with Ras Baraka, the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, with Keisha Lance Bottoms in Atlanta, or other, symbiotic relationships, and we slam it home. We can buy, a bunch of houses in Detroit for $1, redevelop them, put some, home buyers in there, attached with Urban League and other nonprofits and down payment programs and this comprehensive community redevelopment, whatever that looks like, condo conversions, whatever it is, and we do well, and we make a 40% ROI, which is not unheard of in real estate. You get your 8%, and then after that, the remaining 32%, we're splitting 50-50. So now you got another 16%, in this hypothetical scenario.
Okay.
And now you're up 24% on this opportunity.
Right, but that's only if you decide to pay dividends. You could also take that money that you made and buy another property with it, which in turn makes the shares more valuable.
Well, dividends are being paid out every quarter after the year lockup. So wherever our profits are after that, where we stand at that quarter, dividends are paid out on that point. When anytime there's a liquidity event, whether that's selling, potentially refinancing if we bought something cash, or whatever it might be, there's always opportunity for us to and we will return dividends after the year lockup every quarter.
Okay, I feel you. Listen, man, I wish you the best of luck on it. And, just run this completely
What you gonna put in on it,
transparently.
Vlad?
I'm not a real estate guy. I'm not putting
Vlad,
in nothing
Vlad, you
on
talked
it.
about REITs, Vlad. Your whole
Yeah, I don't own any
large
REITs.
parts African American.
Yeah,
What you gonna put in on it? You ain't got 500 on it, Vlad?
I don't have 500 on it. I don't have 500 on it.
Vlad, you don't have 500 to see what it do with all those questions, with the clarity and disclosure of the fund. You don't have a spare 500, the minimum investment to support the fund.
Nope. I'm not a real estate guy. That's not what I invest in.
Okay.
And I also don't believe in putting in small amounts into investing. If I put into an investment, it's like a big percentage of my portfolio, or else I don't really bother. But that's just my style. Everyone got different styles.
Hey, listen, you are entitled to your style. You are the king of your dominion. We
Yeah,
would
man,
appreciate
I'm
your
just-
support, though. I would tell you that. We would appreciate your
Well,
support.
I'm actually giving you my support right now with
You
millions
are.
of people.
That is a fact. Done. I'll put your 500 up for you.
Okay, there you go. You can put 500 in my name. I'll take that.
And listen, if we crush it first year, we meet over 12% returns. I'm not even saying 8. If we meet over 12% returns over first year, then I want to come back and I want some support outside of your platform.
Well, we could talk then.
All right.
We can talk then. I'll take my $500 shares for now, and we'll go. I'll put them in my pocket. See what it does.
All right, cool. I appreciate you.
Okay.
I do.